Did you know that only about 30% of engineering firms make it past their first 10 years? Crazy, right? So, what separates the successful ones from the rest? What do the best leaders do differently? Well, in this episode of the Civil Engineering CEO, I will be sharing top tips from industry leading CEOs who have built and led successful engineering firms. Whether you're a business owner or an aspiring leader, these insights are invaluable for guiding both your career and your firm's growth in this competitive field. Let's get into it. Tip number one comes from Young Kaprowski, principal and CEO of Y2K Engineering, who emphasizes the significance of cultivating a culture of innovation and inclusivity. She shares why leaders should create an environment where people love to work. Let's hear what Young has to say.
It's so important that we as a company owner or as leaders in our own organizations, that we foster a culture that is inclusive and that is someplace that our employees want to come to work every day. Being in the transportation industry, the work that we do directly affects the community. So overall, our projects are very purpose-filled. So that's the easy part. I think the hard part sometimes from a leadership perspective is ensuring that the environment that people are given to work in fit them and their lifestyle, especially because people's lives change over time and there's different circumstances that I try to accommodate. And that's through understanding, going through it myself, flexibility.
Joanna Gessner, CEO and co-founder of Gessner Engineering, highlights the power of embracing change. She explains how adaptability can lead to excellent results for both leaders and their teams. So, Joanna, what advice can you share with our listeners?
Open to change.
It's a good one, especially these last few years.
That is it. It may or may not work, but if you consider something and are open to trying it, maybe a new process, a new technology, people just in general, we do personality assessments, and for no other reason than for self-awareness and to help with communication. I think they're fabulous tools. They're accessible to everybody. Civil engineering tends to self-select. We happen to use DISC. There's lots of great ones out there, and the type of person that tends to be drawn to civil engineering is a person that does not like change, likes order, likes predictability. And so when you try to get somebody like that to change, it's really difficult. So the number one trait is to be, in my opinion, is to be open. Like, let's talk about how this could possibly work instead of starting to list the reasons it wouldn't immediately. And that's something when I work with my team, I'll say, okay, you can't tell me reasons this isn't going to work. Maybe it won't, but let's start with that being open and let's get our minds right there. And that's such a valuable thing because sometimes change doesn't work, but sometimes it has fabulous results. You have to be open to it.
Tip number 3 comes from Gil Hanch, President and CEO of MSA Professional Services, Inc. Gil discusses the importance of balancing short and long-term business goals to ensure sustainable growth. Here's what Gil had to say.
We talk a lot as a board about what's a sustainable rate of growth. There are firms out there, as you talked about, growing wildly through acquisition, and that might look good for a while, but there's usually a price to be paid for that. And yet we also can't not grow. There's a growth imperative, and for us, we want to grow organically as well as acquisitively above the industry median growth rate. We think we can do that, but we're also not saying it needs to be 25% per year because we think that would put us in a bad place. So to me, a lot of this comes down to the role of the CEO's job is to find the appropriate balance between short-term and long-term thinking, right? We've got a 1-year plan and we absolutely have to hit our financial plan for this year. And so we're really focusing on that short term, but I've got my operating folks to do that. I need to be thinking on the longer term things that might actually reduce our profitability in this year so that 3 years from now, we're able to grow or be more profitable, or hopefully both. And so that's the constant push-pull, I think, that goes on in my mind and is frankly the most difficult thing to know exactly how to get that mix right of what do I do to honor the need to perform today, but also make sure that we've got this future. Because I think it's really easy to have a company that does everything well in the short term, and you can do that for a few years, but all of a sudden it catches up to you, and you're either going to take a drastic hit to profitability, or more likely, you're going to sell to somebody else.
Tip number 4 is from Jesse Kropelnicki, CEO at Verdantis, who shares insights on investing in employee development through trust and providing your team with the necessary training to advance their careers. Let's hear what Jesse had to say.
You don't end up collaborating on real project work and bring new skills and capabilities to existing clients, relationships that you may have, until you build trust, right? We as an organization can tell everybody, oh, work together. But nobody's going to work together in any meaningful way until there's actually trust built. So you'll find that a lot of what we do is ensuring that we set up those opportunities to build trust. So we have a lot of people programs throughout Verdantis. Sure, anyone can invest in people programs. So I don't think it's that itself, but it is an element where we are very intentional about investing a lot of time, effort, and resource into our leadership programs. We also have a lot of celebratory type programs, an internal mentorship program. We have something called Sip and Sink, where we pair random people throughout the organization to just get together and chat once a month for a half hour, one-on-one. So all of those programs that we have, that there's probably 24 of them in total, they're all set up to have an intercompany element. So we will never do anything specific to one business unit or one company. For example, our mentorship program has mentors and mentees. We purposely pair mentors and mentees from across our business from different legacy firms, right? That's just one example.
Tip number 5 is brought to us by Ori Eliyahu, President and CEO at NGO. He delves into the principles of servant leadership and how adding value to your team and organization can create lasting success. Ori, how can leaders do that?
I say just be curious, always ask questions and ask for more different types of work, ask for more work, ask for more challenges. Only you know what is your sort of challenge threshold, and stretch. So be curious and stretch, particularly stretch technically and psychologically and in terms of serving.
Tip number 6 comes from Don Klein, President and founder of Klein Engineering and Consulting. Don offers advice on managing business priorities and the importance of networking within firms. Here's what Don had to say.
I found it to be so critical to be involved in the industry and be involved in industry associations. You know, it's part of who we are, part of our culture, and one of our core principles is knowledge, and meaning we want to gain knowledge. We want to become the best we are in our craft and develop our skills through gaining knowledge, but we also want to give back knowledge as well, give it back to the industry. So it's one of our core values is knowledge, and so it's critical that we participate in industry organizations. I encourage all of our people to get involved in industry associations, go to meetings, go to dinner meetings, and just get involved. And it's a commitment. We have to be, if we're going to step up and join a committee on one of these associations, then you have to be involved. You have to be active. You have to participate. You have to volunteer to do work for free. And I don't know. You just have to spend time doing that. And it's a balance. But since I encourage that from the very top of the company, I think that people know that they have the people working for us know that they have the backing to join these organizations and spend time doing it. Now, that doesn't always mean doing it during business hours. Sometimes you're doing it at nights and weekends as well. But it's a commitment to not just the industry and gaining knowledge and giving back, but it's also for you. It for the employee, it helps them to improve their skills, their knowledge, their know-how. and improve their network as well. I mean, it's so valuable being part of these organizations to increase your network and the relationships in the industry and that sort of thing. So it's just something that we really value, and as I said, is part of our core values.
Tip number 7 is shared by Scott Harvey Lewis, CEO of Building Mavens. Scott explains the importance of aligning people with the right roles based on their skills and their strengths. Scott, take it away.
Naturally, everybody has to do an honest self-check. Like, what do you really like? Because at the end of the day, one or the other isn't really better, because you could be a really technical expert in your field and all you do is an expert witness report, and you sit before juries and before the clients and you explain the technical thing, where somebody else could be really all day selling and doing presentations and not doing anything technical, but they still could be at the top of their career and top of their chain. So I think in my career, though, I've had many opportunities, and my personality and skills really lend nicely towards that side of the business. And so at the end of the day, running a firm and being responsible for clients and really the profitability of the whole ship is something that I'm comfortable with and I do well at.
Yeah, and I think that everything you said there, Scott, is really important, because I think sometimes in a lot of consulting firms, they make it out that if you don't have these skills, like the ability to go out and build business, you don't have the leadership skills, that you can't be successful, which is not a great thing, right? Because if you're someone who's really technically savvy, you want to do technical work at a high level. And if you're going to build a consulting firm, you're going to need people that can do both. And so I think the idea of kind of understanding your skill sets, and then as you go into leadership, understanding your team members' skill sets and being able to kind of put the right people in the right seats, including yourself, is really, really critical in terms of building a team or building an organization. Tip number 8 comes from May Whiteside Williams, founder and CEO of CKL Engineers. May talks about delegating tasks and how becoming a servant leader can help grow your company. May, tell us how you did it.
I had to, in turn, go from leadership to leadership servant. Does that make sense? I had to become the person behind them, serving them, so that they have the confidence to step up and lead, and also maintain the company culture at the same time. So we had the people that had been here a while, we had incoming engineers from other places, and telling the existing engineers, need you to lead, need you to step up, but maintain the company culture at the exact same time. And I had to step back and be that servant and help them understand what that looks like. And for some CEOs, they may, step back a bit more early in the building of the company. Let me just hire somebody else to do that. I was there from day one and making sure that all of the steps were planted and completed, and building that infrastructure, building the standard operating procedures, so that it isn't a mystery. If you are selected to step up into that role, you have some key elements that you need to hit every day in this role. And with that, I had to kind of lead from the back and kind of push them forward. But I couldn't be this top down looking, like I'm hovering over the organization. I had to get behind my engineers. And that was probably the most interesting, the most humbling for me, the most inspiring. I probably was the most inspirational person you could have met. And that is leading from behind. I had to get behind them and give them the confidence that you could lead this.
Tip number 9 is from Joseph Hunt, owner and founder of JHA Companies, who stresses the value of soft skills in advancing to leadership roles and how they contribute to building strong teams. Joe, tell us more about that.
And depending on where someone is in their career journey, I think it looks a little different. But communication skills, people skills are absolutely essential. Coming out of school, it was, hey, these are the things I learned how to do technically. But as time went on, I quickly realized we're in a people business. So just those soft skills, being able to interact with teams and people and clients, they're absolutely essential to advance in a leadership role within an organization for sure. There's a lot of technical roles where you can grow and become a mentor and train others on the team for sure. But yeah, I would say soft skills, people skills are absolutely essential.
Tip number 10 comes from Brian Maver, principal at WHM Structural Engineers. Brian talks about recognizing your team's individual strengths and how supporting your team's unique abilities can drive company success. Here's what Brian had to say.
As a leader, I think recognizing and knowing people's strengths and trying to support those strengths, and also understanding where their weaknesses may be and trying to find tools or something that can help them improve those things, and just knowing what those are. I find very much good, effective leaders are those who understand the different personalities within the office and are able to communicate with different personalities as well. So I think that's really, really critical, because some people respond in different ways, or they, receive information in different ways. Some people are more visual, some people are more audible, that sort of thing. So as leader, I think that's really critical.
Each leader brings a unique perspective, but the common thread is clear. Success is built on strong leadership, trust, and a commitment to continuous growth. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel here. We put out videos like this on a weekly basis to help engineering professionals become better managers and leaders. I'll see you next week.